Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final of our series, Help I'm Stuck at Home. My name is Karen House, and I'm speaking to Leanne Hunt. And so we are now at the 21st of this series. So the theme for today is Beyond Acceptance, and I'm really looking forward to this one because I think we do need to look beyond. So, Leanne, can you help us today? You've spoken a lot about the 5 stages of loss. And those have been outlined by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. So you said that acceptance is the 5th and last stage, right? But now you want to talk about what comes after acceptance. Why is that?
Okay, it's an interesting thing that I only became aware of quite recently. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross outlined the 5 stages of loss in her original book many years ago called On Death and Dying. She then, I think it was several decades later, partnered with a man called David Kessler, and they wrote a book on grief and grieving. Now, David Kessler has just last year wrote another book, drawing on a lot of his own experience of loss, and he's written a book called Finding Meaning. And so it's this element of meaning that has been incorporated into the stages of grief. So that is now the 6th stage.
All right. So there's a 6th stage, right? Okay. Could you tell us then about your own transition from acceptance to meaning?
Yes. Okay. So I became legally blind when I finished high school, and I went on to university, and I did a degree in English literature, and it was with the support of tape aids for the blind. They provided me with all my reading material. And thanks to a strong faith in God, I really was able to focus on finding purpose in my situation. And I gradually, over the years, really realized that it was just a fact of my life. It was pretty much like the weather. When the weather grows cold, you have to change the kind of clothes you put on. And same with my sight loss. I would just have to adapt and use whatever visual aids were available and whatever resources were out there. And then, of course, I went into this period of being housebound for many years, and it was pretty tough. There wasn't much technology available. Gradually, there were bits and pieces. I had some screen reading software, which was pretty basic, but it helped me to write pretty much an account of what I'd been through in a draft format. And then, of course, that improved, and then it was a case of being able to access the internet, and that made a big difference for me. And I think just accessing websites about disability and people who were blind, I began to see that actually I was the one who was responsible for making a change in my own life and finding a solution. Because as much as people wanted to help, they didn't really know how to help.
Right.
They didn't really know what was meaningful for me to learn, what skills to develop and all that. So I started with all sorts of personal challenges. And the first thing was to get a guide dog that made me a little bit more mobile. And then I managed to find somebody to help with driving. It was just somebody that I asked, a friend of mine. I said to her, I'll pay you. I just need to get out of the house. And I took on a volunteer position at a women's shelter. And that was great because it basically grew my confidence. So it was as much useful to me as it was to the ladies that I supported. And then after that, I did a counseling course. And when online publishing came along, which was around about 2010, I learned how to self-publish online. So I published a book and I published another book. And then I had to learn how to market. And then I had to learn how to give radio and TV interviews. And so it was just a process. But when I look back now, I can really see that it was because of my confinement and because of really struggling that I had to become resourceful. And because of that need to become resourceful, I managed to really grow in my personal life, which was good.
Wow, yes. And just listening to you, I can also see that the technology has been an enabler, a lot of your journey, which I find very interesting for us. Yes. Yeah. So do you have some tips for us about how to find meaning in the losses that we have sustained?
Yes. Okay. Look, I've only got one tip. I'm going to
Okay.
end off this series with my one strong message, and that is find freedom within your limitation.
Yeah.
Because now, years ago, I read a book, which some of our viewers might know. It's the autobiography of Johnny Erickson. She's the
Ah,
young girl who she became a quadriplegic as a result of a diving accident in her teens, and she has written many, many books. Um, when she wrote her first book, the autobiography that I was referring to, she put a phrase in there that God never closes a door without opening a window. And that has just stuck with me over the years, that there's always some kind of freedom that you can find within your limitation. It's just a case of actually finding it. And I think, if you can learn to do that, we are limited just by virtue of being human. We have limited knowledge and limited physical abilities. We can't fly. We can only sort of run so fast. We can only hear so well. And we just have so many limitations. And right now in lockdown, we are limited just in our, ability to just go out and do as we please. So that is my message today, to find freedom within your limitation, and that will give you meaning. You will start to see that the limitation isn't necessarily something that is blocking you, but it's almost like a step to a new level. You can take that step, go up a level, find meaning, and yeah, you will have a kind of freedom that you may not otherwise have found.
wow, that's a wonderful message and a perfect one to end this 21-day series on our last day of the 21-day lockdown, which, as you would have known, has been extended. But this series now finishes today. And I think on this
Mm,
note, just to say a very big thank you, Leanne, for sharing so
mm,
much value with us today
thank you.
and for the whole series. It's been really very valuable. I think also to be aware that Leanne, as you must know, is a published author and a blogger. I'm sure you've seen that on all of the text that we've accompanied these videos with. And she has written a book that I think might be particularly valuable to any viewers. It's called What Every Blind Person Needs You to Know, and it is available on Amazon to purchase.
Mhm.
And of course, if you love this video and you love this series, then please share it, subscribe, and tell your friends about it, because we would like more to know about the series. It's been so very useful for me personally and for a lot of people I've spoken to. Thank you, Leanne.
Great.
And we'll end it there.
You're
Any last
welcome.
message?
Well, I'm just going to repeat that. Find the freedom within your limitation. It's there for you to find. And like that quote from the book, God never closes a door without opening a window.
Lovely. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.